Okay. Okay, what's the name of the company? Cartus. Okay. 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 Yeah. So can we have the people online introduce themselves, please?
Yeah, hi all. This is Nalini here, and I'm from Bangalore only. I have just 1 year of experience. Might be I'm young, so I just completed my graduate, and as soon as I joined working, so I got this opportunity to continue my education further. I'm working with a UK-based MNC, a company called AXA Global Services, and I'm an analyst there. I work as financial analyst there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon all. Hello.
Somebody is, yeah. So can we have one at a time, please? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon all. Myself Kiran here actually. So, currently I work for Udaan as a cluster manager here. So I hold like totally 11 years of experience in operations. So after so many attempts, I was succeeded into, to join MBA. So
Okay.
the time has come now.
Okay.
That's what's it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. This is Mahesh here. So I've done my BBA and I'm currently working at IBM as a procurement specialist, and I have currently 3+ years of experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, hi sir. This is Nikhil here.
Yeah,
I have completed my BSc, and now I'm working in HDFC Bank as a relationship manager.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have 1 year of experience in DPO sectors.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Now after multiple opportunities, I'm doing my MBA now.
Yeah.
Previously, I had applied for the regular MBA.
Okay.
Due to pandemic, I couldn't. So now I have got this opportunity, whereas time has passed by. So I could opt for executive MBA.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I think good.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Okay. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sajini here. I'm working with Siemens as test design professional with 5+ years of experience. And I am here to pursue an MBA with project management specialization. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi everyone, myself Sudesh. I am working with STT Telemedia Global Data Center. I have around 15+ year experience. I am working as a data center manager for our Bangalore office.
Okay, good.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Myself Srijit. I am basically from Kerala and I am working here with Snowman Logistics as a regional sales manager. And I have an experience of 10+ years of experience in logistics and supply chain management.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, myself Netra, basically from Bangalore. I have pursued my BCom and my total work experience is 2.2 years. Previously, I was working for Accenture and currently I'm working as a financial analyst for Capgemini. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vijaya. I am studying, I have completed my degree in Bangalore University. So right now I'm working in Micro Labs as a HR department in HR department. So my total experience is 13+ years. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, very good evening. My name is Riaz Mune here. I'm, completed my BTech Mechanical. I'm working in Germany, leading machine tool company, CNC machine tool company. I'm heading sales in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi all, this is Rupesh here. Currently working for Amazon with overall experience of 9 years as a quality analyst. I work as a quality analyst, non-technical.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Professor, my name is Ashutosh Kumar. I'm basically from Delhi. I work for JP Morgan CDAO, Chief Data Analytics Office, as a Vice President with 14 plus years of experience. I do manage like business intelligence, data analytics, and data governance portion.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Hi everyone, I'm Omkar here, and I'm currently working in AmResult Services Private Limited. It's a Bangalore-based MNC, and I'm working as a HR and talent acquisition specialist over there.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, myself, Sami. I completed my BBS from Tribhuvan University. I have 7 years of experience in banking sector. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Manish. I am working in Dublin from past 30 years. I am working as a requirements engineer now. I'm here to learn some managerial concepts and implement the same in my company. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Chaitra here. I'm working in Allied Molded Enclosure, is a US-based company as a customer service in supply chain management. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Ranjita here from Bangalore. I'm working for Dell Technologies from past 5 years. So I'm a specialist there.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm myself Ranjan and I have been working in Amazon from past 3+ years. Yeah, that is all. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Welcome to this
Hello,
session.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Vijay.
There are two people speaking, so can one of you please wait for a minute, please? Let the other one speak. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, my name is Vijay, and I have more than 10 to 15 years of experience in engineering design. And currently, I'm working with TCS.
Okay. Yeah, there was somebody else speaking.
Yeah. Hi, Professor. Shubhadi Fair, basically from Bangalore. Now I am working in Bengatham Group as a senior sales engineer, techno-commercial.
Okay.
Hi everyone. This is Nagendra here. I'm guessing I am probably the last one to introduce, or maybe there are a few.
Okay.
I should say, there was one lady who introduced as the youngest. So maybe I should say I would probably the oldest in this section.
Okay.
So yeah, I have about 25+ years of experience, and currently I'm with Emphasis.
Okay.
From Bangalore.
Okay.
Hi everyone, this is Yogesh Chetri. I work with Abode as a acquisition manager. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes,
Hi,
sir.
sir. Good afternoon. My name is Anup. I'm a civil engineer working as a quality control engineer for Karnataka Testers Private Limited. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm Sandhya. I come with 10 years of experience in product development. Currently, I'm working with TE Connectivity.
Yeah, I was wondering why you had not introduced yourself, Sandhya. You came in first and then I didn't hear you. So I was wondering, I'm happy that you...
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so if everyone's done, let's turn our attention to organization behavior. And I would urge all of you who are online to start coming to the campus. Because one part of the MBA learning happens when you interact with people. So we have a very, very heterogeneous group. We have people with 1 year experience and we have people with 25 years experience. They come from different domains. We have a fair number of people from the IT sector, but we're very happy to see a lot of other people from other fields as well. So I think there will be a lot of learning if you can come, and a lot of the assignment would be group activity. So it would be better if you could come and interact with your group mates and also learn from other people. It makes sense when you have diverse opinions coming in, and people come in from diverse background and say, no, that's not what happens in my company. That's how the entire group learns. So I would urge all of you to come to the campus now that the scare has receded. We no longer are scared of the COVID. So that would be my earnest appeal. But let's get back to what is, let's see if the slide mover works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So, okay. So what we do is we talk about organization behavior. Now, irrespective of which course you have taken, it's very unlikely that you have taken a course in organization behavior in your UG, even though some of you are just passed out maybe a couple of years ago. This is a subject that usually is not there at the UG, so it's something that we need to talk about right now. And it's an important subject that we talk about. So let's talk about. So what happened is that, have all of you heard of the Industrial Revolution? You know,
Yes, sir.
I know it's afternoon, but yeah, I know. And it's only going to get worse. It's going to get hotter. And our lunches are going to get heavier. And we'll still talk about organization behavior. Okay, so yeah, have you heard of the Industrial Revolution?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happened in the Industrial Revolution? A lot of? Yeah, but why did the transformation? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, the changes bring up in industry sectors.
Yes, but why
And
did the change come across? Why did the change happen?
Because of the technology advancement.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. What there was one specific technology that brought about the revolution, which was
Renaissance.
digitization.
no. There was a technology called steam power.
Yeah, yes.
So the first time factories started getting mechanized because they started getting steam power, and organizations as we know now started appearing after the Industrial Revolution, because till then there was no need for an organization. So people didn't get together to do something. So there were artisans who did various activities and produced various goods or provided services, and it was all individual. So what happened in the Industrial Revolution is that organizations started emerging, and that was the first time you actually saw in the business sector organizations have always been in sectors like religion, so we don't take that into account. Business organizations started appearing in the Industrial Revolution. Sometime in the 1700s you saw small companies form, and that became bigger and bigger. Okay, now what happened is, may I request everyone to please mute, please, we are hearing a lot of background. What happened from the Industrial Revolution till about 1960 is that employees of organizations were treated badly. Okay, for people who know or have read economics, employees were called factors of production. So the owner did not differentiate between a machine and a human being. He's saying, both of you produce whatever good I have that I sell, and both of you are the same. And the owner said, my only job is to give what was called a living wage. So what came across was that we'll give you a living wage, which means you can live. You cannot thrive, you cannot enjoy your life, but you will not die, because I'm giving you enough money so that you have food and maybe a little shelter. Maybe you provide a little for your family. That's about it. And so conditions were terrible, and that is how conditions were for about 200 years. And this didn't change till about 1960 or 1970. So the far cry from the sort of organizations we see, from the sort of care that companies take for the employees that we see today, far cry from that. And so it has taken 200 years for people to realize that the employee is a valuable asset. Till then they said, warm bodies. All of you heard of Henry Ford? All of you heard?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So if I don't see you nodding and giving me a vacant look, I don't know if you have not heard or you're sleepy or you're thinking of something else. So Henry Ford said, I only need arms and legs. Unfortunately, other human parts come with it. So that was the attitude towards a worker or an employee. And anybody can come and do some small work, and that's about it. Now, what happened in the 60s and 70s is when things started changing, and a lot of management that we know today, organizations that we know today, really started happening in the. So, OB management is really very, very recent. Okay, recent memory. Lot of you, those of you who are having 25 years experience and more, it has happened in your lifetime. For others, it is not very far. So it is something that you can see and feel. So it has happened very recently. And organization behavior started with people realizing that employees are important for an organization. Till then, it was not thought to be needed for people to take care of the employees. And in fact, not to start an ideological debate, but that is when, all these feelings about very callous capitalists and Karl Marx and all these people started coming in. We have come a long way from there. So if you see companies that all of you work for today, and if you look at HR policies that exist, you look at the organization infrastructure that exists, it was unthinkable even in the 70s. So really lots of changes and changes for the better that has happened. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about that. So a lot of that happened when companies started realizing that employees are important. And today you have organizations, some of you work for IT companies, so TCS, Cognizant, CGI, some of the names I picked up. If you take away the employees, what do you have in those companies? Servers, the IT, I always have IT people, servers, yeah, servers, software, but that's about it. And if you had to value a company which has building desk and some servers, do you give the valuation that you would give to Infosys or TCS? No. So the value is coming from the employee. The value that is happening in these companies happen purely on your employee. And everything that occurs in that company happens because of an employee, not because of now. In Bueller, you all at least have machines, you have things that are automated and things happen on day. But in an IT company, if you don't have employees, then you have nothing. And I'm not taking a very, please, I'm not a leftist. I'm not saying that workers are great and their rights should be protected. My father worked for BHL. Some of you might know about BHL. So I've actually seen some very militant trade unionism. So I don't really have a very a great opinion of how people work. So I'm no supporter of that. But companies have started taking care of the employees a lot better, not for any other reason, but for a selfish reason that an happy employee produces more. So companies have realized that. So the companies realize that it is good business to actually take care of your employees. It makes strategic sense to take care of your employees. So that is why people have started taking care of their employees. And one of the things that emerged is that we'll talk about where does OB come into all this. And okay, so what happened is that people started studying these three things. Okay, so what did they study? They're saying that, okay, if you take a bunch of human beings and put them in a company, then how do those people behave? That is the first thing that we will study. So OB talks about that so there is a faceless organization. I put a bunch of employees there The employees carry their personality, their thoughts, their attitudes, all that into the company. How does how does it all work out for a company? So we'll talk about, so the first one is that. The second way is that what happens about, the human behavior and the organization. We were talking about human beings in an organization, but how do human beings and organizations interact? What happens when human beings interact with an organization? What is ideal, what is not? And the third thing is that we talk about the organization itself. So if you're talking about the OBs, and we are talking about the OB syllabus that you're talking about, we first talk about an individual, and we talk about individual traits. Then we go on to looking at other things like group behavior, team behavior, and leadership. And then we look at organization structure, organization culture. So that would be the bird's eye view of what organization behavior theory would be. So to just get a few nuts and bolts of this clarified, have you all got your LMS, this one? Have you got your LMS IDs and access? Okay.
I got Vijay here. I got the email, but that link was not working.
Yeah, so please speak to, please send a mail to Arvind, and who would,
Okay,
Yeah,
same sir, not
I
working.
replied it.
yeah,
I
so please,
replied
and
on
it'll get sorted out. It'll get sorted out. It's important that you get and use LMS, because everything academic, we will talk to each other only through LMS. The assignment will be on LMS. You will upload it on LMS. Your marks will be, it'll be graded there. PPTs, recordings of OB will be available on LMS. So everything is available only on LMS. So it is important that you get your LMS thing done. The syllabus, the PPTs are already uploaded onto LMS. Okay, so you can check that before we get on to other things. And then, okay. So this is how the entire thing works, that there is a human beings in an organization, there's an individual and organization interface, and then the organization interface. And the study of all these is what organization behaviors. This is what we'll do in organization. We'll try to understand why people behave in certain ways. The second thing is, how do we build high performance teams? How do we lead people? What is your personality? How does that affect an organization? So we'll look at a lot of these things as we go along. So why do we study? See, because eventually you deal with people, either as an individual. How many of you actually manage teams? Okay, so some of you manage teams. It doesn't matter. Even if you're not managing, you're part of a team, right? You're part of a department. There is a hierarchy. There's somebody above you. There's somebody above them. So in no company can you say I am totally separate. I am all by myself, and I will do my job, and I don't care about all the people who are around me. Those days are gone. So if you're talking about OB, the best thing is, okay, how many of you have heard of this organization called Gartner? Those of you who are in IT, you might have heard of this organization called, any of you have heard of this organization called?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you know about Gartner?
It's a research firm.
It's a research firm that does research primarily in technology, IT. Okay, so information technology and its offshoots. Gartner is one of the many organizations, but one of the most respected organization when it comes to, they also talk about trends in IT. So they are, Gartner is well regarded for that, and people read Gartner because they also talk about trends. They say what is going to happen in the next 5 years, what are things that are coming up. All those things happen in Gartner. But one of Gartner's thing is that they have published a report saying what will be the most sought after skills that people need to have. And apart from technical skills, you understand technical skills, right? If I'm an IT, then I should know how to code. If I'm in manufacturing, I should know about manufacturing practices. If I'm a finance guy, I should know finance process. That apart from technical skills, what do you think was the number one skill that Gartner said is needed in the years to come? The number one skill. So take a guess. What do you think is? Not studying, a little more. What do you think?
Adaptability.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who said that?
Vijay.
Absolutely right. Your ability to collaborate. Can you collaborate? Can you work with somebody else? Can you work in a team? That is most important. Now, our teams are getting complex. A lot of you do that. How many of you deal with virtual teams? All of your teams, you've all started getting back to office, or uh, virtual teams? So all of you are having only virtual teams. How many of you also deal with outside your organization contract teams? Okay, so you also have contractors. You have your own employees and you have contractors. Okay. What about people working in IT? Any of you working with outsourced employees? You work with outsourced. That is in addition to your own employees. So teams have got very, very complex. That outsourced employees, some of them work for very large organizations. They have their own hierarchy, their own culture too. So getting all these people together, working as one team, that is becoming a challenge. And so that is what Gartner means by saying that our number one skill is, can we work together? So they're talking about collaboration. They're talking about problem solving. They're saying, can you solve a problem either individually or as a group? Those are the number two. They're talking about leadership. They're talking about some of the other things. But the number two, the two top skills are collaboration and problem solving. Okay, so what does it mean? So what does it mean that the numbers two skills are collaboration and problem solving? What does it mean? What do you understand? Yeah, teamwork, and you solve your own problems. Okay, so it is no longer are the days when those of you who worked in the IT company, that there is development and then you had a waterfall and then quality, and then they would say these are the bugs, and then you took your own sweet time to fix it. All those days are over. Most of you have moved to agile in any case, and it is about that you work together as a team, solve the problem. We don't care if you call yourself development or QA, we don't care. Get the job done. That is becoming more important. So what is happening is that because of this collaborative nature of the thing, hierarchies are becoming less and less important, because uh, it may happen that the junior most employee or the latest employee has skills that other people in the team don't have. Then that person will lead the effort because that person knows what they're talking about. So gone are the days when there used to be a project manager. The project manager was God and he knew everything. All those days are over. Now it is about, can we work together? And now people are saying, get the job done. You have a problem, please solve it. That is what we are looking for. If you are a very nice person, very good. You have great technical skills, great, use it. That is what OB is talking about. That is where the trends are. So we are really, if you how is Bueller? Bueller is still because you're a mechanical engineering company, very the old fashioned, you have a hierarchy. Is that how it is? That is how it is. Then how does it work? It's a matrix organization. Okay. Okay, so it makes your life miserable. Two guys shouting at you and saying, do my job. Okay, we'll come to matrix, so for others who are not. So the um, the mechanical see what has happened is that there have been changes. So companies like Maruti Suzuki auto sector, a lot of them in auto sector actually have begun to move to a team based structure. The matrix exists, but the production is largely of teams rather than the traditional assembly line. A lot of changes, so we'll talk about all this. But the for people who are managing people, you will agree with me that your best asset is also your messiest asset. You have a machine, wonderful thing, switch it on, it does what it says it'll do. For employees, if you motivate them, they do wonders. They don't like you, production drops. Messy, unpredictable. So unfortunately, managing people, being able to motivate people, number one skill that is required, because they're also your best asset. I know it would be wonderful if we had robots who did this job. Wonderful. I'm sure all the managers would agree with me that at some time we all felt the same way, that why do I have all this bunch of guys? Why don't I have some beautiful robots who will do the job? Yes, some things will get automated, but the more we have technology, the more we have automation, more human skills, human management skills are becoming important. So it was not so good. You didn't require that about 15 years ago in an IT company. Today you require that. Why? Because the lower level jobs are all automated. So all the jobs that are remaining involve some amount of human interaction or the other. That is what is becoming more and more important. And that is why we talk about with OB. Now, we'll spend just some time on the history. See, what happened is that we were talking about that people treated each other badly. The owners treated the employees badly. Everybody were called workers. Now, what happened was that for the first time, all of you know General Electric, GE. Have you heard of GE? Large
Yes.
American company.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I didn't hear anyone work for GE, but anyway, it's not relevant to this. Now, GE had a plant in a place called Hawthorne in the US. And what happened in Hawthorne is that somebody said, let's call expert consultants and find out how to improve productivity. So they called in some experts. Expert consultants came, and some of you work in places like KPMG. You'll have consultants like that coming in, and they said increase illumination, production will go up. So they increased illumination, and production went up. So the manager said, "This is ridiculous. We paid so much of money, and all that fellow suggested was increase illumination. We did that, and funnily, it worked." So then there were also social scientists who came to know of that, and they said, this is not something we can understand. Illumination product. So they went to this factory and they actually did a series of studies called Hawthorne Studies. Why do we talk about Hawthorne? First time we actually looked at studies that directly related to OB. First time. A lot of HR practices also came from Hawthorne Studies. So they asked the workers that illumination went up productively. Why? So he said it was not because of illumination. It was because people came and asked us what we wanted. Remember, it took 200 years for this to happen. 200 years for actually company coming and saying, hey, you know what should we do to improve product? First time it was done. And I'm not joking. The first case that has been established where a company actually went and asked its workers, how can we improve conditions so that productivity goes up? And what resulted from Hawthorne Studies has been lots of things. Anybody heard of Hawthorne Studies? Uh, does somebody want to guess what came out of Hawthorne Studies? One of the things that came out that became a universal practice after Hawthorne Studies? Yeah, online, does somebody want to guess? There were many things that changed, but one thing that came about was the concept of breaks. Remember, for 200 years, there was no concept of a break. I'm telling you, the owner looked at employees as machines. You come, I'm paying you, do work. That's all. What break? And if you have seen this wonderful movie called Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin, has some of you seen it? I would urge a lot of you to see it. It's a wonderful movie, though black and white. Wonderful acting. They are saying that you take your breaks, you eat your lunch while you are having, and they actually come up with a machine. And there's a lot of humor because he's being very sarcastic that he's working and there is soup being poured into his mouth by a machine. But that was the so what came out of Hawthorne was they said that if you actually gave breaks to people, you actually do well. Now we've come a long way. If you actually visit places like Maruti Suzuki, or you visit TVS in Hosur, not very far from where we are, and you went to the shop floor. I haven't seen the shop floor in Bueller, so my all my comments is not about Bueller, but about my other experiences. Okay, so let me ask you. You are very experienced people. So how are shop floors usually there? Mechanical engineering, production shop floors. How is it usually? How, if you go to a factory, what are your normal impressions? How are they normally? How are they? How are the conditions?
They're usually very organized, structured. They would have everything in place. There would
Yeah.
be safety features that would be adhered to, and
Yes.
yeah. So
Yes, but would it be noisy, hot? Would there be metal shavings all over the floor? Would there be oil on the floor? Would there be
Yes.
oil on the overalls of the workers?
no, they would have certain areas for certain kind of task, and that would be very much limited to that kind of
Yeah,
activity,
but
whatever
then
they're doing. And
yeah, so but they would have that. If you went to any of these factories, between the shop floor is very clean. There is no oil spill anywhere. It's absolutely clean. The second thing is that they have breakout areas where the worker or any employee can sit, and it's very nice. There are fresh flowers, there's a sofa, so you can just sit down and chill out for some time if you want to take a break. So all these things started happening because they said it's good to have an employee who is happy, motivated, and that will ensure higher productivity. So that is what uh, so one thing, so a lot of these things started happening because of Hawthorne. And so what happened is that there were been a lot of this one. Let's take off Gartner. Gartner no longer leaded. Now people looked at it as a system, and this is an input and output. So there is that what are the inputs that I'm putting? What are the outputs that is? That is the old way of working. Then you looked at an organization that you can't look at everything as from a perspective of um, input and output, because there are also situational factors. Each company is different. There are other factors that increase or decrease productivity, increase or decrease satisfaction. So we'll look at some of them. And it also is largely about how do you interact with, how do each employee interacts with other members of the team? How does the team interact with the team leader? How does the team leader talk to the other members in the hierarchy and so on? So that became very important. Okay. So, people who are working in IT, how many years experience have you got? How many years have you been in the IT? Yeah, both of you? Huh? Okay. Okay, so you've been there for quite some time. So you've seen conflict within a team. So you've also, I'm sure, worked for multiple project managers. So you know that some of them are good and some of them are bad. Okay, some of them very good, some of them are terrible. So that's how the life is. So it all this is something that you experience. You experience conflict. You experience also wonderful teamwork sometimes, where the entire team comes together and say, "Hey, let's do it." We might hate our boss, but let's do it. Let's do it for the team. You also have that thing coming. So when does this happen? When do employees get into conflict mode? That is what a manager needs to figure out, and that's what he meant. Remember that when employees get violent, they get really violent, and you could have a lot of violent reaction coming in from people too. So it's not just about people getting angry or irritated. It could go beyond that. So yeah. So before we get on to what is that, we look at this, and this is yeah. So what happened is that there was this gentleman called Henry Mintzberg. Henry Mintzberg said, "What are the roles of a manager?" So he said, "Okay, fine. The the fulcrum of any team is the manager or the leader of that team. You can call that person team lead, project lead, okay, junior manager. What do you call in Bueller? You call the first level man manager, person who manages a team. What are they called? Team leaders. Okay, so the team leader is the person who manages the team. The team leader is a person who's a supervisor. Yeah, so he's a worker who's got promoted, and that's how those. Okay, so in any hierarchy, any of those leaders, it could be any leader that you, whether you manage 2 people or you manage 200, does not matter. The roles are the same. So what Henry Mintzberg did is that he said, let's study what are the roles of a manager. And Henry Mintzberg came up with these 3 categories of things. He said, manager, the first one he called interpersonal. The second one is informational. And the third one he called decisional. Okay, so he said there are 3 different roles that people play, that the manager plays. The 3 main roles is the manager has to ensure that he deals with people, which he called interpersonal. He also needs to deal with information, both from within the team, from outside the team, to ensure the team had enough information. There is an informational role. And third one is the decision making role. So there are 3 types of roles that he plays. So let's look at the first one. The first one is that when you're talking about interpersonal, he talked about that the first role a leader has is a ceremonial role, which is a figurehead role. So a figurehead role is what the president of India does. The government runs on the orders of the president of India, but the president of India has no powers. It is basically the parliament, the legislator, that is where the prime minister and the council of ministers who have the power. It is he's just a figurehead. So what does the president do? So what do you think the president does? What do you see him do? He passes the commands, he gives awards, he goes to countries and say, hey, president, hi, I'm also president. Because no power. He cannot agree to something because that's not, he can only say, hey, you good fellow, you're nice, we like you in India, do that sort of role. That is called a figurehead role. So what's a figurehead role? There's a role where the manager comes, gives out awards, or presides over a meeting. All those roles are the figurehead roles that you also have roles. Those of you who are managers, do you also have give out awards? Somebody here, you said you're a, yeah, so do you give out awards, and is there a recognition program? Okay, so how often do you do that? Okay, so you give out a, okay, so you give out a gift for that person to, because the person has achieved some target, or okay, and you do that, you give out those awards. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I'm very poor with. Huh? Tirumala, it's very important for the team to see you give out an award. And, you could say, call me old fashioned, but these are some of my old fashioned days. Try it out. The impact it has from the person who's receiving it is tremendous. The award is the same, but the fact that you're giving it has a big impact on that person. So call your team for 5 minutes and give it out, one photo, give it out to the team members. And you know what, what do you call them? The associate is called it's called an employee of the month. What is it? What is the award called? Quality mindset. Okay, so quality mindset winner XYZ. We're very happy to give it. Takes 5 minutes, but I can assure you the impact is high because it is not the award. See, what do you get as they get a gift as an award, or do they get some certificate? And do they get a okay, gift? So it is what is the value of the gift in rupees? If you had to put it, about 500,000 rupees, it is not really a large sum of money, but the fact that you're getting that award in front of the entire crowd, that is motivating. So don't ever ignore this role. Okay, this role of giving out awards, for giving motivational speeches, that is one role that a manager needs to play. And it is the more fanfare you can make for the awards, the better results it's going to. Don't give out too many awards. Make that awards, it is like when my son was in, my son went to a play school when he was about 3 years old, and they had a sports day, and everybody got a prize. Okay, so what happened is, even though the kid that came last, they also got the same certificate. So don't make it like that. Don't make it like that. It should be that this person really does. Because when I was a manager, there were some times when nobody achieved and no awards were given out. We had the ceremony, but no awards were given out. And we would tell that none of you qualified. So there was a null award ceremony too, that there is no awards. I can assure you the team feels bad, because you don't have to then lay it on thick and say you are useless people, you didn't perform. They know it, and they don't feel really good about it. So, to give you an idea, to tell you about the importance of that, I come from a sales background, and we used to have I was working for Xerox, and we used to have a dealer who was doing very well in Chennai. 4 years, he was the #1 dealer in Madras. And then his attention, he was the #1 dealer in India, and his attention moved to other businesses. And he did very badly in spite of all the efforts, didn't do well. But because he had done well for 4 years, the company extended an invitation to the annual event. The annual event is by merit only. Only the top 10% of dealers who will qualify for that. But since he had performed at #1 level, a special invitation went out to this person. His name was Ranganath, from our managing director, saying, please come and attend that. He came and attended that for 3 days, didn't speak to one single soul, because he knew at the heart of hearts, he didn't belong there. There's somebody out of kindness had invited him, not because of performance. And after that, I didn't have to tell him to do his targets. Targets got done. Because he said, I never put myself in that situation again, where I'll have to depend on somebody's kindness. I can do better than that. I didn't have to tell him that. I didn't have to tell him, Ranganath, you're a great guy, you should do better. Got the message. So that's the power of awards. And I'm always telling, it is a power of non-monetary awards. Certificates, trophies, plaques. Okay, so if you give 500 to somebody, that person can't put it in his house, he can't put it in his cubicle. You give him a certificate, he'll frame it and put it there. Okay, so yeah, online, again, we're hearing a lot of noise. Can you please mute, please? Okay, we are actually hearing a lot of very embarrassing noises, so please. Okay.
Preren,
I think it's
I can't hear you.
somewhere noise.
I got a chat message too. 1 minute. I can't hear you. You're breaking up. Okay. Okay. Somebody sent the URL for this one. My voice is breaking. My voice is breaking.
No, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Okay. Somebody sent the URL on the chat message for LMS. Okay. You can look at that in the break. We'll take a break. So the first role that we were talking about is the figurehead role, the role of that. The other role is being a leader. Okay, so readers, what do you think is the two main roles of a leader? What do you think a leader should do? Leader could be anyone, captain of the cricket team, principal of a school, or business leaders like you have seen. What do you think is their main role? What do you think is the leader? We are coming to other roles too. This is not the only role, but what does a leader do? A leader does just two things: gives direction and motivates people. So the leader's job is to tell how the effort should be and to ensure everybody's in sync. The second role is motivate the team. In technical jargon, we call that performance management. That the key role of a leader is to manage the performance of the team and to keep the team motivated. If you can do both this, you're a leader. In a business sense, you can do more than that, great. But you should be able to do at least this. Now, liaison.
Hello.
Yeah.
ಬಲ ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಬಲ ಇದು ಏನೋ ಇದು ಸರತ್ ಏನೋ ಇಮೇಲ್ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ರು.
Okay. This third lead is that the leader's job is also to talk to every stakeholder. You understand stakeholders? Everybody who has or has some interest in what the job you're doing is a stakeholder. So which means it could be other departments, it could be HR, it could be accounts, it could be customer service, sales. It could be people outside the company, for example, customers, vendors. So whoever is, is somebody who you need to deal with. The manager needs to maintain a relationship with all these people. So it is a manager's job to liaison with all the people in the outside world. One of the key responsibilities of a manager is to liaison with top management, to give visibility to what the team is doing, to also escalate key problems, conflicts, concerns, issues to the top management. So it is not just with the outside world. So it could be among peers, it could be with the top management, it could be with other people like vendors, like customers. So it is the manager's job to keep in track with all that. So if you have dealers, any of you deal with dealers, vendors, any of you deal with dealers, vendors? Okay, you deal with vendors. So you need to maintain a relationship, personal relationship also with the vendor. So what you quickly realize is that just having a business relation does not work in India. You need to get and have a personal relationship. So when you have a personal relationship, that is what helps. Okay, so that is when you can get the conflicts managed, because there is a personal relationship and you can tell them, hey, do it for me, and they'll do it for you. The informational role is that it is the role of a leader to monitor all the information, to ensure information flow is nice. The team gets all the information it requires. The information from the team to the top management is happening smoothly, because both ways the information should flow. Okay, so no longer are we no company can work with only one-way communication. Everybody wants to understand what's happening at the grassroots. Okay, so you have people, anybody who is in a manufacturing company, There would be managers coming to the shop floor to check out what's happening, because that is where the action is. Okay, so do you follow the Japanese style of management in the 7S and the other things in 5S? And okay, so in the Japanese call that Gemba, where all the action happens. So they say manager should be at the Gemba, not sitting in a nice air-conditioned chamber. You should be where action is. So one thing is that, are you able to get all the information? Do you know exactly what is happening? Do you know exactly what is happening? That is what is very important. And all successful managers figure out different ways to get information that is correct. They also monitor. They also give out information which the team requires. So the team requires information to perform. The manager needs to ensure that the team gets the information so that they can perform very well. Okay, so any of you been in a situation where you didn't know things and that created problems? Any? Okay, you're not very clear. Does it happen in the IT, this one? You're not very clear of the project. You're not very clear. Customer is also not very clear. So these sort of issues, it happens because while it is everybody's responsibility, the primary responsibility is the manager to get this thing sorted out. If it is not clear, to speak to the customer or to speak to whoever has the information and to say, hey, we need information in that. My team does not know that. So do you ensure that information flow is correct? And the leader is the spokesperson, speaks on behalf of the team. The team could be two
Hello.
people, the team. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, this is Rupesh Desai,
Yeah,
working for
Rupesh.
Amazon.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we have a thing like weekly, we have a Gemba walk. So
Okay.
where everything will be mentioned, what all we have done in the last week and what is the future plan. So step by step, every team will come up and write their points over there. And the leadership team will come and they'll go through the Gemba walk board.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
So is this the point which I can relate to the thing?
Yeah.
I
I think it's a wonderful thing. So what, anybody can write any point that they think is valid?
Yeah,
or is
team wise, like whatever they have achieved, they will update on the Gamba board. So there will be place where everything will be mentioned and leaders will come and go through that, and they have any questions, they'll come up with the questions on that.
Okay. So that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a wonderful way of doing it. So in fact, if you actually went to Japan, you see, in Japanese, they believe that everything should be visible to you. As a manager, everything should be visible. Everything will be on the wall. The wall should be covered with, it may look dirty, but it's very important because they write down things. It's all in that Japanese.
Yeah, they'll update the pie charts as well if there are any pie charts and all. So they will have a boards. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very good system. It's a good system. So I'll remember the Gemba walk. So the idea is, do I know exactly what is happening in each team? And not, I don't get a filtered, colored, beautiful report that comes, or a beautiful presentation that comes that tells the great things that are being done by. So if you don't do that, you have a problem. So, the one example of that is that there was a dog food company in the US, and they were having their annual review. And every manager came and talked about their department. So production said, we have the best production facilities. The marketing said, we are running an award-winning ad campaign. Sales said, we have the best dealers and distributors. And, the HR said, we have the best people. The chairman of the company was an old man. And he said, okay, if all this is so wonderful, why is the company making losses? And there was silence. And like it happens in a company, each department blamed the other. Production blamed marketing, marketing blamed sales, sales blamed some other department, and this went on. And he said, no. All of you simply don't know what it is. So what he did is he went to a supermarket because this was troubling him. He was a chairman. And he was standing there and he saw somebody buy a competitor brand. So he asked that person, why did you not buy this brand? And he actually introduced himself, said, I'm the chairman of this company. Why did you not buy your brand? I just want to know. And that person gave a very simple answer. My dog hates this. Simple answer. That can't be corrected by manufacturing and marketing. So sometimes, and this happens very often, top managers simply don't know what's happening there. And you see this in terms of communication that they do. They're talking about some rubbish, and the problems you're having is something entirely different. You're grappling with some important thing and they're doing some motivational stuff. Okay, my wife's from the IT field, and in one of the companies where she worked, we don't take the names of companies, only to praise them if necessary. The KRA of the manager was the team members had to have fun. It was a KRA of the manager. And for those of you who worked in IT, sometimes you deal with heavy and very severe deadlines. So deadline was there. The HR would say that this month, this quarter, your team has not had a fun activity. So my wife was a manager. She say, hey, we need to have some fun activity. They say, no, we are not going. No, we have to have some. Okay, so they will say, okay, 3 hours, let's go and do some fun activity. Nobody's in a mood. But you go there and say, yeah, we had fun. HR, tick it off. We had fun, and get back to that. And HR is feeling very happy that every employee, every team is having fun, but this is reality. So one thing that a manager does is that, is there enough information? Is there visibility for my team to the top management? Am I telling the top managers the wonderful things that is happening in my team? Showcasing my team's successes, but also telling them of the problems that we face. So is that what is happening? And the last one is decisional. The first one is the manager makes decision, acts like an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, you allocate different resources. You say, if I was a company, would I spend the money or would I spend the resources I have in the manner in which I am doing it? So I will allocate it to places where that gives me the maximum revenue. So very common, you will have the best developers going to the projects which give you the maximum profitability. I'm sure the best machinery, the best workers go to places which give you the maximum revenue. So that is one thing that the manager does. The other thing is that they also, resource allocator, they whenever there is some conflict or any other disturbance, they ensure it is managed. And the last one is negotiation. Now, negotiation is not that where you sit across and have that. You negotiate every day. Okay, you negotiate with your team member. Does this happen often? You go and I want this work by tomorrow 3 o'clock, and I say not tomorrow. Can I give it day after? Okay, day after 9 o'clock you should give me. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. No, 9 o'clock. That is negotiation. Something that happens every day. Okay, so or this month, a lot of you are in the online part are from sales, but anybody here from sales? Okay, you're from sales. Okay, so you have you manage sales people?
Yes, sir, we have it.
Yeah, so do you negotiate with your salespeople saying you need this month you need to do so much?
Obviously.
Obviously, I know. Painful part. In the sales, people are all good negotiators. So it's always a painful process because you want 10, they say they'll do 1, and then you have a long thing every month to say no, and the market is down and COVID and all that. So that is another role that the negotiation role is another role that the person plays. He plays it with various things. He also needs to play it with a top manager, saying your top manager is trying to come up with some deadline which is really stiff. Then he says, no, it's not possible, but we can do this in this time frame, not in 3 months, but maybe in 3 months, 2 weeks, we can do that. Okay, so that sort of negotiation. That is another role that manager does. So these are the roles the reason we talk about Henry Mintzberg, this one is that there have been lots of people who have come up with this division of roles. Now, firstly, we don't, in organization behavior, we don't believe that there is a difference between a leader and a manager. So all those WhatsApp forwards that you get, are you a leader or are you a manager, simply makes no sense, because there are managerial roles. Leadership is one part of it. You can't have a leader, you can't just do leadership roles. What about the rest of the roles? So what Henry Mansberg did is actually put down a very exhaustive series of roles, and this has been very, it is not just some academic exercise. It's also something that actually exists. When you are a manager, when you're doing it, you'll be doing all these roles. Depending on the role, you'll be doing some of it more and some of it less. And when you're doing all this, if you want to become a better person, ask yourself which of these roles you're not doing it, and you might want to start doing it. So we are in India, we're very good in being able to do things at minimum budget, time. We can manage that very well. We are not very good with stakeholder management. We don't manage stakeholders well. We accept a lot more than what is necessary. So that's a cultural thing. It's not something that is. So just to talk about, so what Henry Mintzberg did is actually break down all the managerial roles and say that these are the roles of a manager. And this is what a manager does. Put in a very exhaustive series of roles for a manager to do. Okay, so I do hope that you use this and you start reflecting. For those who are not a managers, I'm sure you can do it when you become a manager. We look at, okay, so Henry Lutton's, Henry Lutton's, who came up with this. Okay, now he actually looked at three different types of managers. He looked at average managers, he looked at successful managers, and he looked at effective managers. What do you think is the difference between a successful manager and an effective manager?
Time spent on communication.
Okay, no, we'll come to why somebody is effective or successful. But what do you think is the difference between why somebody is called a successful manager and somebody is called an effective manager?
A more effective and productive way of management.
Okay, no, successful managers are people who got promoted more often. Effective managers are the people you'll go to when you have a problem. That one person you will say is right for this part. Oh, I have a crisis. Who's the best man? May not be the guy who's getting promoted very often. Okay, so you go to the person who is very effective. And if you're looking at the main differences between both these people, it is this. Okay, now if you're looking at that, most of the job that successful people do is that they do two things. First, they network and they communicate. Now, these people, yes, they also they do that, but they do less of that, and they do more of traditional management and other things. As a manager, do you network more? So what does a successful manager do that effective managers don't? They go around showcasing the work that their team is doing. Effective managers are too busy performing. And remember that for all of you who think that the work will speak for itself, the work never speaks for itself. The work will speak for itself if you go and tell people that you have done great work, not otherwise. Otherwise, nobody bothers. It is you have to go and tell people that, hey, you know what? I've done some good work. Not boast when you have nothing to boast about, but when you have done some good work, to claim credit for some good work. That is what successful managers do. And they go tell more people about it. Effective managers do the job, but spend less time doing that. Okay, so in management, the most often given experience is that, for those who know, How many eggs do you think a fish lays at any time? Fish lays eggs. So does somebody know how many eggs the fish lays? Hundreds, lots of it. The fish goes to a quiet part of a lake or the sea and lays its eggs, and hundreds of them. How many eggs does a hen lay at one time? One. What does a hen do when the egg is laid?
Sits on it.
They make a big song and oh, you know what? Come see my egg, hey, everybody, my egg. So that poor fish who lays hundreds of eggs, all forgotten. This person who's done one egg, everybody say, oh, egg, oh, egg. Oh, the person is shouting, egg, oh, everybody gets happy. That's exactly what happens in corporate world. I'm not saying you should take credit when it is not due, but do take credit when it is due. That is what happens. The people who get successful are people who went around networking and being able to showcase, tell people that, look, this is what we are doing.
And Professor, this is Ashutosh. Correct me if I'm wrong. The networking portion increases a manager's effectiveness indirectly, right? Since the manager becomes more resourceful, as well as it leads to a better collaboration, cross-functional collaboration, when people know that you are actually doing something which might interest them, right? And ultimately the problem gets resolved.
Yeah, and you know whom to go.
Yeah.
And that person knows you, and you have built a relation, so that person is a friend of yours, so they're more likely to help you out.
Yeah.
So you're right, Ashutosh, you're absolutely right. Networking is an essential skill that people do. That is why you have people who go and network crazily to ensure that they are, because when you have people, you never know when you need whom and whose help you require. And so you use their thing and the job gets done, and whatever help you want. Whereas the effective manager tries to do the same thing, but yeah, we'll just do this and break for tea. Now, like any part of
Sir, Vijay here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just can you go back one slide? No, that effective manager.
You wanted on the manager?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effective manager versus, but the thing is, when you call a person successful, then he has to be show his skills, right? That
Yeah. No. It is not to say successful managers are just gas bags. No, they have skills, but they also know how to showcase the skills. The reason I'm telling is that the effective managers are the best people in that job, but they're not necessarily the people who will get promoted.
Okay.
The point I'm making is they're not necessarily the people who get promoted, because one part of a manager's job is to actually look at, do people know me in an organization? Okay, so nobody knows you in an organization. Your ability to influence people, persuade people to do and help you out is going to be less. So what happens when we are talking about collaboration? Collaboration is maximum when you are networked, when you're highly networked. Is that the only skill? No. If I'm only networking and not doing my job, I'll get thrown out. This is not a club. It's a company. You're expected to do your job. Networking helps you with that. So it is networking for a business reason, not networking just because, okay, let me go make friends and let me have a party with them. Very nice to have a party, but finally the job has to get done. So do you have a relation with that? Okay, so to just give you an example about networking. Now, one of the finest examples of project management happened when Mukesh Ambani was a project manager for their plant in Patalganga. They set up a plant in Patalganga. So he was, I think, in Stanford at that time. And he passed out and came, and his father said, have you come? Very good. Now you go and set up this huge petrochemical plant in Patalganga. Please go. So this young engineering graduate actually went and set up that, and later set up the refinery in Jamnagar. He did both these. One of the finest examples of project management. A lot of things are spoken about Mukesh Ambani, but surprisingly, his project managers have never been applauded. One of the finest. And especially in Jamnagar. In Jamnagar, he had about 3-4 years experience, so he was much better. And they had international collaboration with a company called DuPont. I don't know if any of you have heard of a company called DuPont.
Yeah,
DuPont are one of the largest companies, chemical companies. They were the international consultants to Reliance. And DuPont would have its engineers there, and they would be having a technical discussion with Mukesh Ambani on some job. Teflon, yeah. Teflon is one of their products. Teflon is one, and also Kevlar, one of their stellar failures. What is used in, you see those, it's a material that is used for bulletproof jackets. That's another story. I'll tell you about Kevlar some other time. But yeah, Teflon, yes. So huge giant. And so what happened is that Mukesh would call people and they would have a discussion. And he would ask them, okay, we need to do this. How long will it take? So DuPont would tell him that, look, normal international standards for doing this job is 4 weeks. But you're inexperienced. All your engineers are inexperienced. You've never set up a factory or a refinery before. So it will take you 6 weeks because you're inexperienced. Okay, so consultant gone. He would call the team heads who are supposed to do the job, call them all in. Vendors, all of them, call them all in. And he would speak to them in Hindi. And he would speak to them in colloquial Hindi. Okay, most of you understand Hindi. For those who don't, I will translate. So he would tell them that Gora कहता है, हम inexperienced है, हम कुछ नहीं जानते हैं, इसलिए हम 6 हफ्ते लेंगे. So he tell them that the white man is telling that we are inexperienced and we don't know things, so we are going to take 6 weeks. So what do you think his engineers would tell him? Would his engineers tell him, yes, we are stupid people, will take 6 weeks? So his engineers would say, no, sir, we are very good. Just see what we do. And I said, exactly. That's what I told that white fellow also. I told that white fellow, what do you think? We'll do it in 3 weeks. And okay, if it didn't take 3 weeks, it will take 4 weeks, but it will get done. Not because motivation was not money or position. Motivation was to show that consultant, who is that fellow to tell us that we don't know things. We know a lot of things. We will show him who we are. So that pride is what he used to do the project. So, and he told all the vendors and all, we are all one set. Consultant, different. When he was talking to consultant, he said, yeah, you're all one part, one team, the project got done 9 months before schedule. It's a 3-year schedule for completion of the project. It got done 9 months before schedule. Some wonderful project management, some wonderful stakeholder management. And this was one of the motivation tools, but he knew the name of every vendor. He had their number. So he would not he would not talk to the chairman. He would talk to the person who's there, get the job done. Networking. Even Mukesh Ambani networks. So if you're not networking, then so that to get the job done, it's better to network. Okay, so but let's go to the last one and then take a tea break. Okay, so everything that we do in OB, lot of it has come from other disciplines. Okay, so this is the number of disciplines that it's come out. We borrow very heavily from psychology. Everything that we talk about in individual has been influenced by psychology and psychological theories. A lot of research has come from OB on its own after that to build on their theories. So theories of attitude, personality, emotion, moods largely came from psychology. These would be the next chapters that we talk about. Now, teams, group behavior, leadership, came largely from sociology, and you had some social psychology also, and you had anthropology, which basically talked about things like organization culture. Why does an organization have a culture? Okay, so for example, do you think a company like Zomato would be the same as a company that is very old? A company like, say, HAL, would they both have the same culture?
No.
So the point was that how does organization culture get created? And how do you ensure it is the right culture? Okay, so all of you know Uber, right? Do you know Uber CEO was removed from his job? A guy who set up Uber, who made it into this global thing, a guy called Travis Kavanagh, because of a very, very toxic environment, which is the same reason why Ashneer Grover, if you have read about Bharat Pay, the same reason he is being kicked out. So now if you create organization, you should be careful about what type of organizations you create, the culture of that organization. So is the culture positive? So if your organization culture is terrible, CEO, sorry, find another job. So one video that went viral was what took Ashneer Grover, and it has ruined his career. It has ruined his wife's career. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but definitely he's lost a lot of big money. His wife lost something like 800 crores she was given ESOPs, the shares, that has been cancelled. It is very likely that Ashneer Grover's shares would also get cancelled. So lots of issues that happened because people started coming back saying that he shouts at people, uses very harsh language, uses foul language. So the board of governors said, sorry, we don't need you. We'll manage without you. So culture of an organization, how does an organization culture develop? Is it the right organization culture? We'll also read about Infosys and how they actually created integrity as one of the values and how did they enforce it. It's easy. Every company says integrity is one of our values. How did they enforce it? How did they make it part of the DNA? We'll read about that too. That's a case study that we will do when probably in about 6 weeks, we'll be doing that. We'll be looking at those case studies. So this is this is the first chapter, which is what is OB. So it is 3:05 in my thing. It's also time to take a break. So we'll have a 15-minute break and okay. So I'll see you at 3:20 my. Online, we are taking a break and we'll be back at 3:20.
Sure, sir.
Sure, sir.
Sure, sir.
we start? Okay, online, can we start? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
We can hear you, sir.
So I hope you all had a nice break. Probably
Yes,
managed
sir.
to get a cup of coffee or tea.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did you find coffee or tea here? Those of you wanted it. Not there? Outside? Just outside at the gate, you will find a bakery where you can get some. I think the fourth floor cafeteria is closed. You know, I think they only work till lunchtime, so you'll not get it there. But okay, so next time I'm sure you'll figure out other places soon. So the first thing that we talk about is that organizations used to be very homogeneous. Okay, so for example, anybody here from an defense background? No, nobody. Now, in the army, the supposedly most glamorous job is in the what is called an armored corps. The armored corps is the people who command the tanks. You've all seen the tanks. Some of you might have seen the news of the Russian tanks coming towards Ukraine. Yeah. So the tank regiments, that was thought to be the most glamorous part of the army. And being a fighter pilot was thought to be the most glamorous part of the Air Force. In the 50s, if you wanted any of these jobs, the criteria was that you should have an independent source of income and not dependent on the army or air force salary. That was how it was. It was thought to be a very glamorous job. You should not be a guy who you should have an independent income apart from the army. Now, what the army did from 1950 onwards and to 2020 is make this army, which had all these stupid British notions, into a truly representative force of the Indian public, to truly make anybody with merit to have the equal chance of doing that, because they wanted diversity in the Indian army. They want every army officer to come from within the ranks. So a lot of army officers come from rural part of India because they want them. They didn't want the army to become a very British institution. They wanted it to become an Indian institution. So if you actually went to either an army cantonment or anything, there is a lot of the Indian festivals are celebrated with a lot of pomp and splendor. All Indian festivals are celebrated. So you have Indian slogans. The idea was to have, it should not be a stumbling block for somebody from, say, rural India to come up and join them. So if you went to villages in places like Haryana, you will find a lot of them talking with pride that that village or that area have given so many of their sons and now daughters to the Indian army. So the idea is, so the army, which started off being very elitist, became truly a meritocracy where every Indian has an equal chance of qualifying for that if you meet the entrance exam standards and the physical standards that army they what they want. So that is what, so the idea is to have, so every organization is trying to have a diverse workforce, and in diverse workforce have people from various backgrounds. For example, in Google, they also have people coming in what is called in US as fine arts. Fine arts are people who in India who we call them arts, which is BA in psychology, sociology. They want these people to come and join so that it doesn't become a company of just engineers, because it is not just engineers who are going to use Google, it's going to be common man. So they want that input to also come, whether it is easy to use, what do they think about this. So in things like customer experience, they want people who are not engineers to also use it. They want people to go and talk to people who are not engineers, who probably will go talk to a school principal, who'll go talk to a small businessman and check out if they are finding it easy to use Google. So that is why, because you want to have an organization that's completely diverse. The more that, okay, in some of your companies, you must have heard of diversity hiring. So
Yep.
okay, yeah, somebody was saying something from online.
Yeah, so we have a policy in my company where we hire people from different locations also. So it cannot be like you can hire people from one specific zone,
Yeah,
one
yeah.
specific place. So there has to be diversity in terms of the team members. So it would be, let's say you select somebody from east, then somebody could be from west, somebody could be from south. There has, if there is all male team, then they would probably give opportunity to a female employee as well, as in they would want to preferably hire a female employee as well. Of course, you have to meet all the prerequisites and
Yeah.
so on, but they will try to ensure that we have as much diversity in the team as possible.
So my question is, why do you think companies want a diverse work? So in diversity hiring is when you actually go out and get people who are very different from what you have. If you don't, like he was giving, if you don't have women, go and hire women. If you don't have people from East India, go to Calcutta, go to Assam and recruit those people who are from that part of the world to come and work for you. Why do you think a company does that?
There are a lot of different advantages. Not all of them would need leave at the same time. Not all of them would be affected at the same
Okay.
time. There would always be different views, perspective that you would have, which will come into the team.
Okay.
So and also, like, you would not have a groupism or other negative aspects also there. So you
No,
have.
not only that, we'll look at that. There are lots of reasons why this. Okay, now how many of you are engineers? A lot of you are working.
And then there is one person that is like cultural awareness, right? That makes the job easier.
Yeah, it is a
sales side.
yeah,
Right?
cultural awareness and cultural sensitivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there could be people who are not like you. Okay, we look at some of them. But how many of you are engineers? Okay, so a lot of you. So what is the typical profile of people who come to an engineering college? What is a typical profile? Intelligent, good in academics, strong in maths. Okay, these are the thing. So if you went to an engineering college, you would have a very homogeneous crowd. All of them are people who have fairly good intelligence skills, mathematical skills, which is why they came there and why they remain in the course and don't drop out. But if you went to a course like an MBA, you will find here people of very, very different things. And when you do your discussions for the case, which is assignment 2, you will find that there are different opinions. There are different ways of looking at the same thing, which is very different. So companies like Infosys, TCS, all these Indian companies, they have realized that if you take only engineers, everybody thinks the same way, the company will not grow beyond a certain level. You need people to think differently. Okay, so you want people to actually look at things very, very differently. And that is one of the reasons why diversity is coming in. One reason is that your customers are diverse. So if your development team is very simple, you just don't understand your customers. So you need people from all walks of life, especially if you're making a general purpose software like what Google does, to ensure that you understand what they require. So we'll start off by one of the finest examples of actually ensuring diversity. Okay, now the Indian Supreme Court, in a series of judgments, they upheld the right of an Indian lady to be considered for a position in the Indian Army. Now, in the latest judgment, they have said an Indian lady, a lady officer of the Indian Army or the Air Force or the Navy can actually become, they take what are called command positions, which means that you actually become lead teams to war if tomorrow, unfortunately, we have war. And the judgment opens the door to one day have a lady chief of staff. So she can go up to any level now. So in one of the finest judgments that the Supreme Court had, so in Supreme Court for the last 10 years they have demolished the argument of the armed forces that it should be only a male club. So for 10 years back, women were allowed into armed forces. Women were always there in the auxiliary forces, medical corps, in service chain, you could get into that. You didn't get into the core fighting arm. 10 years back, you started getting into that. Now the army, they have opened the doors and say you can get any job in the army, including that of a chief of the army staff, if you, of course, qualify for that. That being the case. So the idea is to have an diverse armed force. Okay, so to have a more diverse armed force. Why do you think this is happening? Because the armed forces is moving from, Putin gives you a wrong idea about the army. The army is not about brawn, it is not about macho, let's go fight. It is about planning. It's about use of technology. Now, if drones become, you're already seeing drone technology in Ukraine, and it is sort of leveling the playing ground between Ukraine and Russia. So with all this, what is happening is that sheer physical force is no longer a requirement. It never was a requirement in the Indian Army. In Indian Army, a lot of them who went through the NDA route are people who have to be a well-rounded personality. If you were only physically very strong, but you were not very good in other departments, you never got selected. So now they're opening and saying that let's get in fresh thinking. Let's get in. The best army in the world, the Israeli army, have always allowed women in their course. Why? Because they're a small country. So they didn't have all these luxuries. They said, we want soldiers, men, women, young, old, all welcome, come. So, and it's a country that has seen a lot of wars. They know that the danger is real. So every citizen in Israel goes through 2 years of compulsory thing. Men, women, all go through that. So they were always open to this idea of that. So really, you don't have a reason why you should not have women. One of the fine judgments of the Supreme Court. Okay, so just ask yourself, how are you different from other people in the class? What could be the differences between you and other people in the class? So where do you think the differences will come from?
It's the way we communicate the topic.
Okay, there could be differences in the way you communicate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? Ideology, yes. Perceptions could be different. Position could be different. Qualification could be different. Region of where you come from could be different. Language that you speak normally could be different. So there are lots of differences that come. We are a very, very heterogeneous community that if you look at Indians, we have a vast variety of differences. So in any organization, you will have a huge wide variety of people with very, very different backgrounds. You could also have urban, rural, you could have lots of background, lot of differences. Now, what does all these lead with? Now, so what's happening is the environment is changing, get into all the components, but business is becoming more and more complex. And gone are the days when you just took one type of people and that was it. Now you take okay, so for example, the earliest recruitment in Infosys was only from IITs and top engineering colleges. And even there, you should have had a stellar academic record, only then you got recruited. But when they needed mass recruitment, they no longer could have these rules. If you wanted to grow, there are only so many toppers in IIT. You can't have then 20,000 people and 25,000. You will not find 25,000 toppers. Then what do you do? So then they started looking at toppers in other engineering college. Then they said, okay, let's look at all engineers who have a certain minimum criteria. And that's how the entire thing happened, because it is become, market is changing. The market needs more you to grow. And when you're growing, you can't say, I'll only take people of a certain criteria. Now, there is changing environment to the, okay, so what is it that we look for? That let's have a diverse team. Diverse means that there should be observable and unobservable similarities, differences among the people. So there should be differences between the team members. Okay, so we have different levels of diversity. Surface level diversity is where we are saying, okay, let's get people of a certain type. Okay, if I have only people from urban thing, let's take a bunch of rural guys, so that I have a diverse workforce. That is called surface level diversity. Surface level diversity is only on the surface you are changing that. If you are taking a rural engineer and urban engineer, there'll be very little difference in the way they think. The rural engineer will also be very intelligent, otherwise he won't have got an engineering degree. That person will also be good in maths. So you're having a very similar thing. Deep level diversity is when you're actually taking people of different ideologies, ideas, personalities, and you put them all together to get the best possible productivity, get best ideas about the entire thing. Okay, so if you're looking at an IT, or you're looking for anything in digital, you could have heard this phrase. Anybody heard this phrase called UX? One of the latest catchphrases. It's been there for some time. Not an
user experience.
User experience. Now that is becoming very, very important. So it is not just that I get a very, very complicated product. What is the experience of the user using my products? Is that user getting a great idea about, does the user enjoy using my product, or does the user not? So to give you an idea, all of us knew SMS, right?
Yes.
No, SMS and WhatsApp were basically the same things. They could do the same thing. Why did you think WhatsApp became the number one method of communication, and SMS, of course, is nobody uses? There's no limit. You could form groups and communicate within the groups. Photos, videos became easier to send. It's user friendly. And SMS was very, and it had a lot of,
Multi-utilities.
and most important, it was free. In SMS, you paid some 1 rupee or something. So,
and there are also limit 100 per day something.
100 per day or something that came with your plan. But then what happened was, so when you're talking about diversity, when you're talking about things, then can you get different ideas, especially to improve user experience? Okay, so if okay, I'm an engineer myself, so no disrespect to the engineers, but sometimes engineers fall in love with the technology and forget about customers. So they have this lovely technology, very great technology, beautiful thing, but the user does not know how to use it. Then what will happen is nobody will use your product. Okay, so it becomes important that you try to make it as easy as possible. So you require people who are non-engineers to test it out and say, makes no sense, or is this button's not good, or something is not good, to give you an idea about how important how important user experience has been. Steve Jobs, all of you know Steve Jobs, Apple. Now, Steve Jobs came back he was thrown out of the company. He came back to the company, and he sort of turned around the company. And the first product that they wanted to introduce after he came back, other than the Mac, was the iPod. All of you know the iPod, right? Now, the iPod was delayed by 1 month. Why was it delayed? Because you have to plug in your speaker jack into iPod. Steve Jobs didn't like the sound that it was making. It was too silent. And Steve Jobs wanted it to make a click so that the person knows that the jack is properly fitted. Okay, so for that reason, it got delayed by 1 month. So if you use the iPhone, or if somebody is using the iPod today, look at the sound. It makes a nice click. You can hear the click. You can hear the click even in a fairly noisy room. The idea is user experience. So if you're looking at Apple and you're looking at their design team, you know that they have a diverse team because they're creating some, it is not just creativity, it is marriage of creativity with technology. So you obviously have technology people thinking, how do we bring in technology? But you also have people worrying about aesthetics. How does it look? How does it feel? How is it easy to use? So that is what diversity brings in lots of new ideas to the table. So that is why you have to do it. The more diverse your workforce, the more it becomes easier. And so the more deep level diversity, if you have teams who have different thinking, one way of getting productivity is to disrupt your team's thinking. So if your team is nice and calm and they all get along with one another, you might want to try out something else. You might want to bring in somebody who's very different from them and see how it will disrupt the team. Create a little bit of conflict. See how this person reacts. Okay, so what happens if they're all very comfortable at one level and they suddenly find somebody coming up with an extremely different level of productivity, extremely different ideas? It will raise the entire bar for your entire team. So that's the idea of diversity. That can you disrupt things a little, shake the boat a little. If your team is too comfortable with each other, disrupt it a little, see what happens. Usually the result is good. Yeah, there are usual conflict. Yeah, they will come and fight with you saying, you know what, that person is terrible, that person shouts at me. But after a period of time, you will see people improving. So that is what this is all about. So if you're talking about technology, lots of, okay, so you have, and then you have separatism. That can you have. Now, the second part is important, that the trend of diversity is that the world population is becoming older. Okay, by 2050, now the population is increasing, but most of the population by then would be the older folk. Now, population of Asians worldwide, Africans worldwide are about to increase. Non-Hispanics, whites in US are expected to decrease. So they're already talking, you understand, Hispanics, people who come from other South American companies, Mexicans, Colombians, Brazilians. So these are the people who are called Hispanic. Hispanics are expected to become the largest group in the US. So there are wide trends that are coming to in India too. So does somebody know the Indian trends? We have the largest young population in the world. Okay, something called demographic dividend, and our population growth rate has fallen below replacement rate. In 10 years, you will see the difference. You can't see it today, but in 10 years, you will see population decline. You are actually going to see population decline, and what you didn't happen. So you're seeing that. So there are lots of trends that you're seeing in India too. Now, one point of diversity is age diversity, and you're seeing in a lot of companies you find people who are very young becoming your bosses. Okay, so this trend may continue, and this trend will become commonplace. So there is no such rule that most companies are moving away from, that somebody's been there in the company for a long time, that person should be promoted and eventually made managing director. No longer the case. If this person brings in what is required today, that person has that. Otherwise, that person becomes the boss. So most of the startups are headed by younger people, though they have the older people who are there to help them out. So it's an interesting interplay between the older folk and the younger folk. Okay, so let me ask the youngsters in the room. What happens if you have a very old person in your team at your level? What do you think of old people in your team at your level? Okay.
Sir, I would tell that, yeah, I would get a lot more experience than,
Okay.
I mean, they were obviously the experienced person so that I can learn something new about with them.
Okay. 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 So let me
Yeah,
ask uh, uh, the people who are older experience. We have seen older people younger people in our teams in any case. So, but what is your impression? Is suddenly some new engineer comes to your teams, and what do you think of them? So they're being very nice. We think of them as impractical, no idea about reality. So what could happen is that there could be a clash of ideas, of personalities that happen because of that. Now, over a period of time, you might actually see respect to each other. So I'll give you an example. Now, when I joined the sales, I joined Xerox. I was a salesperson, and along with me, there was a person who took voluntary retirement from the Indian Army and joined as a salesperson in Xerox. This person was handling the Indian Army sales. Okay, but the person was doing the similar job that I was doing. Okay, the person's name was Sagar Sharma. Major Sagar Sharma took the retirement from the Indian Army and joined that. And I was a freshly minted MBA with all the arrogance of an MBA and saying, who's this old man? Old man selling, competing with me? That's what we all thought. In the first year, Sagar Sharma outsold us 3-1. He sold 3 times the average that we all could manage. And all that arrogance that was there in our eyes fell, and we realized this person is different. And we actually became friends. He was my father's age. So he came from a much older generation, and we were very disrespectful to him. We used to call him Yar Colonel. We used to address him in singular, though he was much, much older. But, he didn't mind. He became friends, and he continued to be a top performer. And we became good friends. And he used to tell me in Hindi that, when we used to complain about something, he used to say, hey, all these are small problems. And he used to tell us, you don't know anything. You youngsters know nothing. And he used to tell us that we have won wars. So we know what is hardship. What you're talking about is not hardship. What you're complaining about is nothing. And we said, hey, this guy is much older than that. He's willing to work harder than us. He's willing to work better than us. He's not cribbing. And we are cribbing, this is not good. That is not good. Oh, the competition is doing that. So actually, that was a lesson that I learned very early in life. And then when I became a manager for the first time, I used to manage a person called Rangan. Again, Rangan came from the armed forces. And Rangan used to manage a spare parts. And spare parts used to have a store. There's an inventory. And Rangan had 0 interpersonal skills and great technical skills. He ran a model department. But he was on everybody's bad book. From his top boss to every employee, they all fought with him. So I had to manage him, and he was much older than me. He was also bigger than me. And which was a factor because we came very close to having a physical bout, and he would have really hurt me badly. He didn't go so far, but over a period of time, we learned, and I could appreciate the effort that he was making. He could understand what I was trying to do. So we sort of found middle ground. We found where I could support him. What I did was, Rangan was a very aggressive person. I protected his boss from Rangan, because Rangan would pick up the phone and blast his boss saying that I asked for a spare part. Why is it not come? It is 3 days. What have you been doing? And get it very aggressive. So the boss would call me and I would say, tell Rangan, he's got his problems. He'll handle it. So I protected the top guy from this fellow's atrocities. And he saw that I was trying to be supportive. We were able to come up with an working relation. This working relation happened over about 6 months and a lot of conflict, but we found. So what happens is that you will find things after about 6 months, and what does that person know? What does this person know? This person does not know technology. That type of start, you will find that over a period of time, you understand the strengths that people bring to the table. And you find that, one thing that we found with Major Sagar Sharma was, he was older. It was easy for him to strike a conversation with somebody who was a little older. Very easy. Actually, he found it very easy to deal with all the customers because they were closer to his age. And they were very happy that a very senior person is handling their account. We found it much tougher. So we actually learned from him. He actually supported us on a lot of occasions. So age is going to become a big part in the modern things. When we are talking of collaboration, technical, non-technical, you could have large differences in age. For example, if you're anybody worked on projects which involved a bank abroad, US bank? Any of you worked on such project? Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, okay. You dealt with the customers there? Okay. Okay, but did you also have face-to-face meeting with that department? Okay, but which department were you managing that? Finance, the finance department. See, a lot of these people who are from non-technology departments tend to be older. So what is a common conflict that exists? People here think that those people don't understand technology. And those people are saying, hey, we are paying for you. So what if I don't know technology? I'm the guy who's writing the check. Big deal. So over a period of time, this problem, if handled well, will disappear. Okay, so age is going to become very big. Population is, what is happening is that the population lives longer, which means that people are fit even at 58, which is retirement age in India. So it is lots of companies feel that it is criminal to let go of somebody with a lot of experience and wisdom just because they touch 58. So a lot of them get re-employed as a contractor. So you really have these people working till about 60, 65, which I think is a very healthy thing to do. It brings a lot of diversity, but it could bring in frustrations on both sides. Both sides thinking, what does that person know? And the other person saying this person knows nothing, does not know ground reality. Okay, so so these are the generations that you are you really have people who are before 1963. These are the people in the West. What happened was that this generation, the soldiers came back from World War, and a lot of them started families. So they were called the baby boomers. There was a boom in babies and population at that time that went on till 63. And then you have the millennials from 1984 onwards, people who are born from 1984, the younger people in this classroom, all millennials. And if millennials are feeling very happy, you have the next generation already there. So unfortunately, you are no longer the youngest and the most sought after thing. What is happening is we already have Generation Z. The Generation Z is people who are even younger than you. Okay, who are so what has happened in India? is that consumers have become younger. Consumers of mobile phones, for example, uh, can somebody guess what is the minimum age in which people buy mobiles in India, who actually take decision on which mobile to buy in India? 5 years, a little too. 5 years. No, no. If 16 is the standard. 16 is the 16. At 16 they buy their own mobile phone. So at 16 you probably got a mobile phone and your father said, good enough for you. Nokia, it doesn't break, take it. So today the consumer is between 12 to 16 years old. These are the people who are buying mobiles, who are buying clothes, who are buying, who's the music trends, fashion trends. These are the people driving it, not you. You were arrogant. How does it feel now that a 16-year-old does not agree with your fashion taste? But that is what is happening. So actually, it is becoming more complex. The entire consumer behavior is becoming extremely very, very, it's become more complex, because how does a company cater to somebody who's 14 years old and also have people who are 40 years old buying? You know what 40 years old people buy? You know why 40 years are important for mobile companies? Does somebody know why 40 years olds are still a factor in the mobile market? They're not the biggest market, but companies still want to talk to people who are around 40 years away, because these are people buying the premium models, not the youngsters. The youngsters are buying the cheaper models. The 40 years are buying the premium model. Now, if you're a marketing manager of Samsung or Apple, you'll go crazy. How do I design marketing messages then that will appeal to both 12 years old and 40 years old? Okay, you will have, that's why, different products for them. They look very different, because these people are looking for very, very different things in a phone. So the phones which are a little cheaper, they're in bright colors, the camera works very well, the speaker is very good. You have the productivity features in the higher end phones, the 40,000-50,000 rupees. The reason for this is the diverse age group that happens now. Okay, now if you're looking at managing diversity, that one thing that does not work in India much, or has not been tried much, is mentoring, where older employees actually handhold younger employees in the company and sort of guide them through the entire process, so that they don't make the same mistakes that the older people make. Okay, so the only mentoring program that I know works very well is with Tata Steel. I have seen the mentoring program there. They really give you a mentor, and the mentor is, if possible, from your college. If not from your college, is at least from your city. That is so that person speaks your language, understands your problems, and that person handholds you for 1 year to understand, to get you settled in the company. So anything you want, you can go to the mentor for help. But we have not had too much of mentoring programs, but could look at that. So if you are looking, have you seen a movie called The Intern? Okay, some of you have.
Yep.
So yeah, so that is about internship or mentoring of that is how a mentor behaves. The mentor does not shout at the person, tells this is how it should be done, but ensures that the younger employee understands things and guides that person along. Okay, so that it's a wonderful movie, again, of the age difference and people finding. So again, we talked about surface level, deep level diversity. Now, what happens is that one thing that happens with diversity has been discrimination. You have discrimination. So on what are the various ways or various reasons why employees get discriminated in a workplace? Why do you think there could be many areas why?
It can be gender, it can be the experience.
Yes, gender, experience, what else?
And
Caste in a company, at least I have not seen. It could be, but at least it is not overt, and it is not. They don't care. You do well as a company. They color may not be.
Yeah, may not be.
Okay, now region, yeah. Who are
The
people
position.
when we are talking region, which region do you think are unfairly targeted and discriminated against in India? I'm talking
Northeast.
Northeast. Unfortunately, they're called Chinkies, and just because they look very different from other Indians, they're treated badly, for no reason. They're actually hard workers. If the few people I've worked with are hard workers, they work very well. They bring a lot to the table, and they're unfairly. So, what could happen? And one thing that a company ensures is that there is no discrimination. When you have diversity, you also have to have a rule with no discrimination. Okay, so uh, for example, that there is no sexual harassment. Every company has a process in which if somebody is sexually harassed can complain, and the whole thing will happen. There could be complaints of harassment of any type. If you're from a region and people are unfairly targeting. So what has happened is that over a period of time, our companies have become more tolerant. So actually now companies allow, and people, language could become a barrier. Okay, so if or everybody speaks one language and you can't, then you have been kept out of that language. So that could be a reason for discrimination. So it all depends on how people have responded to these things. And now what happens is, therefore, why do we discriminate? Because we come up with a stereotype. We have an image in our head which may not be the right image, and because of that you have a problem. And okay, now let me ask the youngsters in the room. Okay, what do you think you will do if your father wanted to discuss fashion trends with you? Don't look so horrified. He might. Let me. Huh? Lot of things. Unfortunately, a lot of these designers are older people. Surprisingly, they're near your mother's or father's age. Actually, all of them. You take a look at all the Manish Malhotra, Ritu Berry, all of them much closer to my age than your age. But you don't want to listen to your father. You don't want to
So
listen to
it
your
is
mother.
like the trend is like old is gold.
Oh yeah. Thank you very much. I
Yeah, sir.
agree. Okay.
Nowadays trends are changing by this way only.
Yeah.
You can
So
see all the designs have been modified into the newer fashions.
yes, the retro is back in.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, so what happens is that we have a stereotype, and we say that you know father mother does not know fashion, while as an old balding designer does. That's what we think. Okay, so some of the discrimination that exists now, we talked about um, it could be downright intimidation, where just because your people of one region are more, you actually intimidate the other person and say that we will not. Uh, this is very unlikely to happen in an IT company, where by nature the teams are more diverse, but is very common in the manufacturing sector. Whereas you could have all this people of a region. Okay, so saying that it is we have a right over job anytime, where people feel that if the people employees feel that the resources are limited and the opportunities are less, there is you could have people getting very very uh, they can start intimidating people of something. Unfortunately, fortunately, this needs to be stopped. Also, of course, mock people who are not like you, and you call them names. Chinky is one unfortunate name that gets called, but it could be of anything else. Okay, so you can if you went to North India, how many of you are North Indians? Okay, only one. Okay. Oh, partially. Okay, partial. Okay, two. Okay, so we have one half and half. Okay. Uh, I really don't appreciate being called Madrasi. I don't appreciate it. And when I used to go to a company where everybody was educated. And when they call me that, I always ask them the same question. How much did you get in 10th in geography? You don't even know there are 4 states. How did you pass that exam? So, okay, this is reduced now, but still, it is not something that you would like to be called. Or Maharashtrians been called Ghati. Unnecessary. It's not a name that we like about it. Okay, you call us people from the IT hub? Yes, that we agree. Why call us such names? So any stereotyping name calling is mockery, and that needs to be avoided. It's all about we versus us. Okay, we are one team and we are better, and that's why I'm going to call you names. Why? Because I think I'm better. So when you have a diverse workforce, what happens is that you get many people of different classes. You could have some conflict in that, but a large amount of it over a period of time, there would be people who would get sensitized about the entire. Okay, so you could, when you have negative stereotypes. So let me ask people who are from South, what is your normal perception of somebody from Punjab? Punjabi, Sardarji, what is our normal perception?
Sir, we would
Butter
say
chicken,
balle
yeah.
balle.
Butter chicken, yeah.
Lots and lots of alcohol.
Lots and lots of alcohol.
Sir, actually, they're energetic. I mean, the way
Yeah,
they
they are too
speak.
We
much
think they're
energetic.
energetic, and they would dance and sing. But you will, but I can introduce to somebody who's the quietest, the gentlest person you will ever meet, and he's a Punjabi. He doesn't drink. He's a pure vegetarian, and he's a Sardarji. And he's the gentlest soul that you can ever meet. Very polite. I have never. I mean, he might dance. I don't know, but he is not the black slapping, very loud type. Very, very. But we have a wrong stereotype about them. Similarly, what is our stereotype about Gujaratis and Marwadis? Huh? But other
Marwadis are
than that,
very good businessmen, sir.
money-minded, business-minded. I'll show you Gujaratis who don't know the basics of managing money. Terrible people. But we say, money, business is in their blood. Money management. This unfortunately to friends of mine, it is not in their blood. So we have wrong stereotypes about people. Okay, so we have really wrong stereotypes about. Okay, anybody here from a region called Palghat? Anybody from Palghat? Nobody. Okay,
Yeah, myself.
Okay, what do you do?
Means
what is your qualification?
I BTech.
Okay. Palghat as a district has the highest number of chartered accountants in the country. Okay. So you assume Palghat means, very brainy guy. But then there could be, how can a whole district have only brainy people? There must be some average people too. So you can imagine what will happen to that person. I'm from Palghat. Okay, what do you do? I just got 60% in 10th. And all the other Palghats will pounce on him and say, you are a disgrace to Palghat for getting such low marks. Disgusting fellow, why did you not study? We have wrong perceptions about people. We have extremely, and for every stereotype you have, I can show you people who are exact opposite of that. So each person is different. Each person is very, very, yeah, there are Gujaratis who are very, very good in money and very good in money management. There are Palghat who are people from Palghat who are very, very good in money management. Okay. So Palghat produces also a lot of musicians. So a lot of famous musicians have come from Palghat. So yes, so it doesn't mean everybody there knows music. So we have wrong stereotypes. So our discrimination comes because of wrong stereotype. Okay, now so the other thing that we are talking about is that one thing that could happen is that it becomes we versus I. So if you're the only person who's not from a region, we'll exclude you from all our conversation. So how do we exclude people in a company? In company, we're very polite people. You know, we don't really. But how do we exclude people in companies? What do we do? Lunch, tea, TGIF parties. Sorry. So, but what happens to team dynamics if this happened? What do you think happens to team dynamics? If a person does not feel part of a team, you think the person will be very motivated and productive. Okay, so you know, I'll give you an example. There was one of the managers. he the client liked the work they did and gave them a budget for having an outing. And they all wanted to go to a pub. But they had two lady members who were not very comfortable doing it. The manager put his foot down and said, nothing doing. We'll go to a place where everybody is comfortable. Because people said, let's leave them and go. If they don't want to come, they don't need to come. So nothing doing. When team goes, the team goes. So you sit together and decide on a place which all of you will agree. We'll go there. Where they're also comfortable in coming. Because the purpose is, it is valid only when, if all of you go. The team manager took an extreme stance. He says, if you don't agree, then we will not go. As simple as that. But no going, half team going, only people who want to go to a pub going, all that does not happen. And what happened was those two lady members appreciated the gesture of the team manager. And therefore, they stayed longer in the company because of that team manager saying that this person could have simply gone. It was a very large team, only two lady members. So about 20 members in the team, the 18 people could have gone. But he said, no, even those two are important. Even those two have contributed to this project. Those two will also come. And they went to a restaurant, which was a good restaurant. So people who wanted to have a beer had a beer, and the rest of them had a cocktail, had a mocktail and or a juice or something like that. It is about how do you actually handle this. It becomes very important when you're managing diversity. Now, okay, what are the things that result in having a thing? We are seeing large numbers of women join the organization, but the numbers are still not large enough. Uh, IT companies are fairly large, but some of the other older companies, it still continues to be male dominated. Okay, so what percentage in Buller would be female population? Okay, so how much would it be in an IT company? 2%? No, definitely 20%. 20 to about 30-35% is the normal. Yeah, so that would be the normal thing. Many reasons why people have a problem in attracting women to manufacturing companies. Okay, not just because of the men there, but the fact that a lot of women don't like working for such companies. So banking, for example, has a large number of women. So IT, banking, you would have a large number of women. Teaching, of course, a lot of them. We have about, in our department, we have about 50-50%. 50% would be men, 50% would be women. In the thing, but the sales part of it is almost completely male dominated, right? The medical reps are almost always large number of women. Okay, so large. Okay, so okay, how many of you know NASCOM? Have you heard of NASCOM? Okay, does somebody know who heads NASCOM? Would you know who heads NASCOM? She's from Accenture. You might have met her. The person heading them is not only a lady, but she's from Bangalore. A lady called Rekha Menon, who heads Accenture. You know, took it from the small 500, 200 company to 27,000. One of the key drivers for that. She heads, I think she's called some managing director or something now. But she's still there in Accenture, right? And she's now heads NASCOM, which is the the industry body of all these IT companies. So she's now the head of that. So the good thing is we have not only have a lady heading that, but we have somebody from Bangalore heading that. We've had quite a few of them from Bangalore, but Rekha Menon, though she has set up Accenture in other places, she has always been based in Bangalore. One of the better IT managers, you know, ability to balance various things, technology, networking, being able to manage people, excellent. One of the better people. So, have you met Rekha Menon? She was no. You were in Accenture? Okay. Okay. And she's a very polite person, and she's actually a good manager. You know, she's not one of the very aggressive type, but she obviously gets a job done and very good in her job. So I was once doing a training program for Accenture and here in Dairy Circle, and they have this bag scanning as part of that. Every employee gets bag scan. And Rekha Menon came and stood in the line. And everybody from the security head to the people in the line got extremely hazard. She didn't mind. So she was just standing in the line. And the security manager came running saying, ma'am, go. Everybody in the team is saying, ma'am, you go, you go. So she's saying, why? I'm as much as an employee as you are. So I have met her a couple of times. All the meetings have been extremely positive. Many, many years ago, you know, when Accenture was not such a big company. And now it's become a giant and too many people. And so the problem of, so if you have a lady manager or you have a only lady in a team, could create problems. Okay, so manufacturing, I can't think of too many women managers. Okay. 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 Even in production jobs? Oh, okay, that's nice. The only person who I know heads an auto company is a person who actually got it because her father owned the company. There's a person called Mallika Srinivasan who heads TAFE, which is India's second biggest tractor manufacturer. Huh? Amalgamation group, yes. You know, her father owns the group, so she became, you know, not because a lady went up. So Sudha Murthy famously was in Tata Motors. I can't think of too many other people that I met, you know, some well-known managers in auto also. I haven't, even worldwide, I haven't seen too many lady managers in.
Is headed by Mary Bara.
Which one?
General Motors is headed by Mary Bara now.
Okay.
And she came from financial background, but she manages the whole company.
Okay, so that's nice. So lot of.
And nowadays, even for example, even in since I came from GM, I know some few of the managers, even the EGMs who manage the especially electronic components. They are in
Wow.
the.
They are women.
Yes, they are women.
Okay, that's good. The good trend.
And
So
I would like to share one more thing. My earlier experience was with the automotive component manufacturing company. There, the trend is even in the shop floor, 30% of the employees are women.
Oh, that's good.
And that proved actually that improved the production a lot.
Okay. I know Schneider. Okay. Ola, Hosur, complete 100% women team. Yeah, the 100% of the thing is women. They don't have a male workforce there at all. The electric scooters part of it. So, why do you think? Why do you think managers want to employ women? Like he was saying, the HR now has a 7% thing. So why is a management saying HR, you need to recruit more women? Why do you think? So let me ask the men, why do you think there's a need? Yeah, but why should we recruit more women? Not necessarily. Some are good managers, some are not. Yeah. See what happened is when muzzle was the only criteria to work, a lot of jobs couldn't be done by women because men were by nature stronger. But as work has become more of mental work, now a lot of work.
So you call that as a soft skills?
Skills, even technical skills have become, even the technical skills don't require too much of physical labor. Okay, so you can't expect in some welder or something to have a lot of women. Those are still very hazardous jobs, require a lot of physical work. Very few truck drivers are women, though they are. So you would not find too many of them there. Why do you think companies want to employ women? So the question is, why does the Indian Army, why is Supreme Court forcing the Indian Army to get thing, or why is women expected to join a company? Sorry?
Women empowerment.
Yeah, opportunity. Yeah, you were saying something.
Sir, women empowerment.
Okay, but why? My point to you is why? Why should women come in? Okay, fine, but why should a company bother? We are there to make money. We are not there to treat people equal. Social ills are not our concern.
Yeah, what I think.
More than that.
Yeah, Vijay here.
What is one thing that women reduce in a company?
Stability is the major thing, which I believe, right? Women employees don't resign very frequently.
No, some of them do. I can assure you in IT, the levels are almost the same. So, but what happens if there are more women compared to men? Conflict comes down. Amount of fights that happen comes down. People skills better. Emotional skills better. So it's always nice if you, it has been found that if you have women in the team, they act as a calming influence on the entire team. So you never have conflicts going to a level where it can't be retrieved. So that is one reason why it's nice to have more women in teams. Okay, so because sometimes the testosterone gets too much, all macho men saying, I'll show you, you show me, that we tend to get that. You need sometimes a calm voice to tell you, hey, let's do our job, let's not get into this. So that is one thing that has been proven. Okay, but race and ethnicity, not too much in India. We don't have too much of an issue with that. Disabilities, people with disabilities, we all pay lip service to them. Would you employ a blind engineer? No, you would not. That person still faces an uphill task. getting a job, even though that person might be brilliant. So if there is one area where we can do a lot more to bring in such thing, it is with disability. Um, you know, somebody working in Amazon, I hear has a whole warehouse, which is a silent warehouse where they've employed people who are deaf. That is what I read about.
Yes, sir. I work for Amazon.
Yeah, so they have a silent warehouse, right, where people with hearing disability are employed.
Yes, yes.
It makes sense. It makes business sense to employ them. You know, they can read and pick up. Why do you need speaking skills or hearing skills? You give them a printout saying, please pick up all these items and put it in this bin. They'll do that. They don't need to be told. Amazon has ensured that their managers learn sign language. So they've gone the extra mile. But you're getting people who are not easily employable. When you give them a good job, they will stay with you. And you provide proper environment, they will stay with you. You're getting good, high productivity employees. They're getting a good job. These people don't leave. You take care of the environment, their working conditions, and they do well.
Sir, one more thing I just want to tell you, there is a MI manufacturing in near to Tirupati where there is lots of women employed.
Okay.
So MI mobile manufacturing company.
Oh, okay. Where they have, a lot of
the local.
a lot of electronics manufacturing use women. Okay, so, but people with disabilities, maybe a good idea to have. A lot of companies that I know of don't have a disability policy of hiring. They have a policy for women. But, you know, in diversity hiring, they believe only women or region. They don't want to go beyond that. Disability working. So I think a lot of it could be done because all of them, there are already NGOs working with all of them. So it's not difficult getting them. I do agree that they should meet basic criteria. That criteria should be there. And
yes, sir. You show humanity, you get loyalty, sir.
yeah. So I've worked with people who had a problem with a leg. A very independent person would they come in that you know, the Activa is converted into a vehicle, would come in that, walk up, had an artificial foot, would walk up, would participate in all the activities, do very well, would walk, didn't expect anything different. Okay, so one thing that we can do is, I'll just take another 5 minutes so that we finish this. And
sir, one point to mention that even in our organization, we don't have such a policy that mandatorily we have to hire a handicapped person or a person who is especially able. But yes, we do have a policy. If we have employees who has a special abilities, so front seat in the cab reserved for such persons, so that they have a feel of leading, right?
Yeah. So
and dedicated security to walk them or take them through the floors. So we do have.
Okay, so that's a good thing. What happens is that when companies get so we'll just talk about one. We don't have too much of problem with all this. Sexual orientation, gender identity is becoming a problem in India. We don't have too many of them, so we really don't have so much of issues. But there are some issues that come because of that. And okay, so really, these are not the. So idea, an effective diversity program we should be able to attract, select, develop, and retain diverse employees. Okay, so one thing, all of you know this company called Mindtree, right? Have you heard of Mindtree? Before they got, I don't know now they've got taken over. I don't know about how things are now, but before that, they found that a lot of employees who after they became mothers would leave employment. Now, we have a 6-month maternity leave, which is a very generous thing. A lot of countries don't have it. You know how much it is in the US? Does somebody know what is the maternity leave in the US? 6 weeks. You're expected to come back to work in 6 weeks. 6 weeks is what the government gives you. The Indian government gives you 6 months. Very, very progressive legislation. But emphasis, Mindtree found that a lot of them would leave the company in spite of, so usually they would join, work there for 3-4 years, and then leave after they have the first child. And they said, okay, these people leaving is not a very good thing, obviously, because you have to get somebody. So they say, can we do something about it? So what Mindtree did is that they said, okay, they converted the ground floor into a giant crush. Okay. And all the ground floor cabins were only given to mothers. No, irrespective which project, you got a cabin in the ground floor. And in the crush, there were cameras. So you can observe your babies. And they had pediatric care. They had people to look after that. And you are in the ground floor, you're 100 meters from the child. You can go and look at your child whenever you wanted to. Why? Because they wanted to retain these employees. Now, remember that it is a smart business idea. And I'm very surprised other companies didn't pick it up. You're investing money. But if you're getting a very large number of people, they will also not leave you for 3 years till the child is young and they're getting this facility here. They will also not leave you for 3 years. So it works for both ways. And the benefit you're getting by that is far higher than the cost of actually running that. They had one pediatrician on call for all these sick babies when the baby got sick, but then they had some trained people to look after the kids and to take care of the kids and to ensure that they were safe. And they had some games and colors and the rest of it. But they ensured that the mothers stayed back. So if you have a well-designed program to ensure diversity, it works. And to me, I believe that it is good business sense. It is not about doing some social good, because I don't believe that organizations should do social good. There is a management thinker called Peter Drucker. Have you heard of Peter Drucker? One of the greatest writers in management. He said, profit is the only reason for a company's existence. So everything else is hot air. You need profit. So I think a good, well-designed diversity program would ensure that the employees stay, but the companies need to go beyond surface diversity and also look at deep level diversity. Actually encourage people of different disabilities, different orientations, ideologies to come and discuss and actually talk about things, to debate things, to disrupt a few things, to say things how things are right. Okay, so that is very, very important. It's very important that organizations become diverse deep down. The more you are diverse, easier it is to attract talent, the easier it is for you to retain talent, and more importantly, you're getting a lot of new ideas from these people. If you have a very homogeneous crowd, then so if you only say IIT's toppers, I'll take and start an IT company, they'll all think alike. They'll all be extremely technology driven, extraordinary. They will fall in love with the product they create and don't worry about the customer. You need some BA, BSc types to tell what about customer? How are we going to sell to that customer? What is the cost? But the competitor is giving it half the cost. Why should they buy? Ask all these. And what happens when companies fall in love with the technologies and not worry of that? You have incidents like BlackBerry happening. Market leader one day, extinct in 3 years. Why? People were in love with the product. Don't bother about customers. Nobody telling them, hey, you know what? You have to look at the customer. The CEO of BlackBerry said, tapping on glass is a stupid idea. Nobody will do it. And touchscreen became the norm within 1 year. And they went bankrupt in 3 years. That's what happens when you have people only one thing saying, yeah, you know what? You should always have a keyboard and have a small screen. Now, even the even a fairly inexpensive has a 6-inch screen. They have touch screen. It became the norm. That is what the customer wanted. That is what will happen if you are having a highly homogeneous workforce, where they only look and talk to each other and have a mutual admiration of wow, wonderful technologies. Oh, wonderful technology. Where, yeah, who's Apple? Oh, Samsung. What do they know? And then Samsung became number 2. BlackBerry now, I'm sure a lot of the youngsters have never even seen a BlackBerry. I'm sure my son has never seen a BlackBerry. So I don't know if any of you've seen a BlackBerry. When I'm giving an example, though, yeah, we've used it at one time. That was prized possession, right? People would pull out a BlackBerry and everyone say, "Oh, BlackBerry, oh," and we would check emails and feel very, yeah, and we would feel so proud.
I can say it's an Apple phone of 90s.
Yeah, Apple phone of 90s. I'm sure Apple don't like that. That's not a description they like. But you're right. You're right that is what it was. It was a sort of a thing. And that went this one. So just to end on one note, Steve Jobs would always tell people that he was talking to the employees of Apple, and he asked them that, what gives me sleepless nights? So he said, at that time Apple was, and till he died, it was the most successful technology company, the world's largest. Okay, do you know they're the world's biggest brand? More people know about Apple than they know about Coca-Cola. That's how big they are. So at that time, so he asked them a question: what gives me sleepless nights? What keeps me awake at night? What am I really scared about? At that time, Apple was the top, and till he died, it was on the top. What they are now is a different story. And he said, what if there is another person who would come up with a technology and we become extinct? That is what I worry about. And that is what drives me. So the most successful company, he's worried about what in some garage somebody is coming up with a technology, and if that comes up, it'll disrupt my whole company. And we should watch out for that. And we should be willing to talk to people who are coming up with new technology and say, hey, you have an idea, great, come, we will do it together. So they also funded a lot of people. They also funded a lot of research, saying that we'll be friends, we'll do it together. Okay, so we will, if you're disrupting, I'll know about it. 6 months, I'll do something about it. I'll get you into my company. That is how progress is going to happen. That is really how progress is going to happen, because the large companies, they say, okay, hey, let's look at the smaller companies, new technologies, and cover for that. Okay. Okay, so that's all. Sorry for keeping you late. Okay, so I don't know when my next class. I'll meet you in the next class. Okay, so have a nice weekend, and I'll see you maybe. I'm not meeting you 2 weeks from now because
19 March, sir. Yes, 19 March.
19th we're meeting. Okay, we'll meet on 19th then. Okay.
Sorry, in between that PPT and all, we can how we can access means.
It is there on LMS. If you go to LMS,
Okay.
PPTs are available.
Actually, my LMS portal is not working. Means login is
no.
to login.
Arvind is the contact person. Please,
Okay.
please mail Arvind. He will solve your problems.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, so any problem you have, he's a single point contact. He will sort it out for you. It is important that you use LMS, because everything that if I want to talk to you, will be on LMS. We will have small messages on WhatsApp if I just want to tell you something, but things like assignments will only be on LMS. Okay, so it's important that you get your access to LMS. That's how all of us will be talking to you. So all the professors will be talking to you through LMS. So it's important that you get that point cleared. Not a problem if you have not got it. It is nothing that has to be done right now, but it's important that you get it done. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Then I'll see you on 19th.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you and bye, sir.
Bye. Bye. Have a nice
Thank
weekend.
you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Same to
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Bye all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye all.